Hi guys, and welcome to the Arsenal Remontada. The transfer window has closed. By the end of it, I was done, by the way. I was just sick and tired of it. But the transfer window has closed now. This is the squad that we're going to have until January at the earliest. And yeah, I mean, what do you guys think of the transfer window? Because I personally, and I want to talk today about the transfer window, how it went, the kind of players that we bought, how it's going to benefit the team, and like where I think that we're going to be finishing this season, or how I think it's going to develop. So I want to start firstly on the signings themselves. And when this was perfectly explained by Edu, I think a couple of days ago, when he talked about our transfer strategy and stuff like that. Gary Neville and people like that will tell you that we don't know what Arsenal's strategy is, when it was very clear from the very beginning what our strategy was. I don't think that it needed much explanation, but Gary Neville obviously talks shit, and Sky Sports love to, or not even just Sky Sports, to be honest, the media in general have been just running up on Arsenal for the last couple of weeks, making it rain, making it pour when it's already raining, and making it out as if Arsenal didn't have a strategy. And the strategy was very, very clear: invest in young, good players that have good experience also. And when you look at the players that we've bought, Tomiyasu has played in the Serie A for a couple of years, age of 22. Odegaard obviously has played for a few years now at a good level, age of 22. Ben White has played at a very good level for the last 2-3 years, also 23. Ben White 22, 23. Aaron Ramsdale has played at good level, Premier League experience for the last few years, 23 years old. Nuno Tavares played for Benfica, played in Europa League, etc., 21 years old. Sambi Lokonga has been Anderlecht captain. He's had a few years at Anderlecht. Now he's been called up to the Belgium national team, 21 years old. So what I'm trying to say is that the strategy was very clear, and it was to invest in young talent that have a fair bit of experience, that can grow and develop with our young team, the other young players such as Saka and Smith Rowe and Tierney and Gabriel and all of these kind of players. So yeah, the strategy was clear. Now the execution of the strategy you can debate. The execution is up for debate. Do I think that the strategy was executed well enough or perfectly? I don't think even Arsenal will tell you that it was executed perfectly, because Edu said himself that we did 90% of what we wanted to do, and he's talking from an optimistic perspective. So if I was to go with what Edu said, no, it wasn't executed perfectly. Was it executed to a good standard? I think that the players that we brought in are exciting players. There's players there especially that I think completely transform your team. I think Martin Odegaard did transform our team last season. He absolutely did, and the statistics speak for themselves. I think Ben White completely transforms your team from the level that we had, or at least with Holding and Mari. I think also Ben White has a lot to add to the team in terms of ball carrying. I think David Luiz was very good at his passing, was incredible, David Luiz, but Ben White's passing is incredible, but he's also an amazing ball carrier. So I think Ben White will add a lot to that team. Tomiyasu, a comfortable right back that can play in the system that Arteta wants to do in terms of 3-2-5 and build up. Can play centre back, right back, left centre back, defensive midfielder. Very, very versatile player with very good progression statistics, good in the air, strong in the challenge, dual monster. Will very much complement the things that maybe Ben White lacks at as a right centre back, which is aerially. You're going to be able to have Tomiyasu to be able to support him and cover him with Gabriel on the other side. So very good signing there. You've got obviously Aaron Ramsdale, who was originally a player that not many people were inspired by, not many people took to that signing very well, especially with the price tag. But actually, when you look into him and you look into his kind of like his history and his stats and even his first performance for Arsenal against West Brom, and the kind of things that he brings to the table, actually you start to think differently. At least I was one of those guys that when I first heard of the links, I wasn't very happy. By the end of it, I was super happy. Now, cynics will say to you, "Oh, it's because you're an Arsenal fan and you just want to look into the positives about a signing and stuff like that." Now that it's happened, and part of it could be that it could be unconscious bias. I can't tell you for sure because it's unconscious or subconscious or whatever the word is. I don't know, subconscious bias. But at the end of the day, he is an Arsenal player and his stats are very good. He has got Player of the Year for the last 3-4 years in a row. He does have very good passing stats, especially for England under 21. So he is a player that looks very, very excited to play for Arsenal, and that can't be said for all the signings that we've made. A lot of the signings that we've made, we've had to feel grateful that they're here. Aaron Ramsdale and other players, including Martin Odegaard and Ben White and Tomiyasu and Sambi Lukonga and Nuno Tavares, all look super excited to be able to play for a club that's the size of Arsenal. Because don't get it twisted, Arsenal is a huge club. No matter what these bullshitters like to say, these lot try to say that Tottenham are a massive club. Well, if Tottenham is a massive club, then Arsenal is an absolutely gigantic club. And these players look like they're eager to play for us. So I think the incomings have been very good. It helps transform our progression, especially from the back. Me personally, Ramsdale starts over Leno. With Leno, I just feel like, and I went to the Arsenal-Chelsea game, and I'm sure if he starts, the same will be at the Arsenal-Norwich game. You just feel the nerves in the stadium, you feel the nerves in the fans, you feel the nerves in the players, the defenders, etc., and it's just not good for the whole team when every time Leno gets the ball, everyone starts shitting themselves. That's just it's not conducive to the way we want to play, to the build up, all of that kind of stuff. So for me, Aaron Ramsdale starts over Leno, because even in the one game that I have seen him play for us, he looked much more assured in the ball. His decision making is very quick. He's got a wider range of passing. He's more accurate with his passing. So me personally, I would start Aaron Ramsdale. But will that happen? I think it's too early for Aaron Ramsdale. I don't think you can really remove a player that has been at Arsenal for as long as Leno has, and has been a number one for as long as Leno has. I don't think you'll be able to kind of like just displace him in like a month or 1 or 2 games. So let's see. But me personally, especially in the situation that Arteta's in, you play the best players for the system, and Aaron Ramsdale for me is a better player than Bernd Leno. You got Tomiyasu, who's going to help the build up. You've got Ben White, who's going to help the build up. You've got Sambi Lukonga, who a very, very, very good player, very good prospect. Martin Odegaard, the less said of him, the better, because I just think he's an absolute gem of a player. I think that he's really going to come into his own this year with a bit more confidence, trust from the coach, regularity in his play. I think he's going to be really, really good for us this season. So let's see how that team develops. Now, what would you rate the transfer window out of 10? Me personally, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10, because I think we should have done more. We needed a backup centre mid, and we needed a striker. And the reason that we didn't get those 2 players was because we didn't make enough sales. We spent about 150 million and we recouped about 30 million, 25 million from Joe Willock. Joe Willock was the only player that we sold. And I know people will come and say to you, oh, but the market, there's not enough people buying in the market. Tell that to Chelsea then. Chelsea literally net spends probably about 3 million. They bought Lukaku for 100 and they probably made about 100 million in sales. They sold so many players and so many and so many players that have never even played in the Premier League for big money. Players like Gwenhay, he's never played in the Premier League. Good prospect, fine, no problem. But they sold him for 15 million. We can't even find a sale for Ainsley Maitland-Niles or Eddie Nketiah. These players should have been out of the door on sales, on permanent transfers, not on any of this loan thing. A lot of loans that we got. Guendouzi was a loan, Mavropanos was a loan, obviously Saliba loaned, Torreira loaned, Nelson loaned, Bellerin loaned. So many loans, and Joe Willock was the only player we sold. Man United sold Daniel James, a shit Daniel James, who's only gotten worse since he came from Leeds. Yeah, they sold him for 30 million. You know, we sold Joe Willock, who was on high momentum. Yeah, had just broken a record for the amount of goals scored in a row from a midfielder. 21 years old or 22, however old he is. English players, goal scoring midfielder. You don't really get many of them. Had a lot of momentum for the same club that wanted to buy him. We sold him for 25, less than what Man United got for Dan James. How who's responsible for that? And I was listening to Arsblog's, the Arscast podcast, and he had an interview with David Ornstein, and he asked David Ornstein basically what was the target for Edu this season. People said that he had specific targets that he didn't reach and blah blah, and Ornstein basically said that he doesn't know about targets, but the club believed that there was £100 million worth of sales that could be made in this transfer window for players such as Nketiah for 10 million, Ainsley Maitland-Niles for 15 million, Lacazette for 10 million, Torreira for 10 million, etc., etc. It builds up to around 100 million of talent that you could have sold and recouped that money for. We didn't do that. We sold one player, and the only player that we sold was Willock, and that was literally the easiest sale that you could have made. Now, the reason that affected us massively is because the lack of sales meant that we weren't able to reinvest that money into positions such as centre mid and striker. Them lack of sales really did hurt positions that are key positions. Me personally right now, and I'll tell you for a fact that our centre mid options are outside of Partey are probably bottom 5 in the league. Probably bottom 5. Xhaka you couldn't get a £12 million bid for. Well, you just about got a £12 million bid for. Lokonga is a brand new centre mid to the league, to the team. Needs to really adapt physically, because on the ball he's great, off the ball a bit suspicious at the moment. I'm not saying that he can't progress to be a very, very good player, and he will, but at the moment, and naturally, he's a 21-year-old that's just come from Anderlecht and has to adapt to the league. Mo Elneny wouldn't get into any of the probably top 20 team, well, the whole any team in the Premier League. And then you've got Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who literally was a midfielder for a team that got relegated last season. So these are our centre mid options outside of Partey. And can you guarantee that Partey will be fit? You can't guarantee it. And if you've got belief that he's going to be fit, then your belief is misplaced, because there's nothing to prove that he will be fit and he will be able to stay fit for the whole season. So our outgoings really affected kind of key positions that we need to strengthen. And that's why for me the transfer window gets nothing than a 6 out of 10, because it's not a lack of good players that we bought in. I think that we did bring in very good players, very system players that will improve a lot the system that we want to implement. But we should have done more. We needed to do more, because of, at the end of the day, when you think about what did the club need to do, basically, the club needed to go from 8th to challenging top 4. Have we done that? I don't think so. I would say that the club is top 6, the squad is top 6, But is it top four? I personally don't think so. And the reason that it's not top four is because we need to do more in certain positions that we just have not been able to do. To do. At the end of the day, we finished 8th last season. We finished 8th, and you can't tell me that a spend of 150 million on the majority of them being defensive players is going to close the gap from top 8 to top 4. Especially when you think about the way that top 4 teams strengthened as well. So will you be able to get there? Was that even their aim? It might not even be their aim. For me personally, I don't think it was their aim. I think the club this season wants to finish in top 6, get Europa League, and then strengthen again next season when some key players will be off the books. That's probably what they're aiming to do, because I don't feel that that's the way you strengthen when you want to go for top 4. I don't see that at all. I don't see strengthening in that manner is you're aiming for top 4. Especially when you look at the other clubs and how they're strengthening. They probably want to finish in the top 6, get top 6, and then move on again next season and hope to go from strength to strength. The only problem is that football, you need patience, you need time, you need all of this kind of stuff. But can you get that in football? Let's say this season we get top 6, and we get into Europa League, and Bukayo Saka comes out. He's got 2 years left on his contract, and Bukayo Saka goes, well, listen, you haven't gotten top 4 in the last 6 years or whatever it is. I need to start playing Champions League football. Basically, the idea is, what's the guarantee that you're going to be able to keep this crop of players together? You can't guarantee it. So it's all well and good investing in young players, but you need to add senior players to that. And the senior players that we've got at Arsenal are not good enough. The only senior player that we've got at Arsenal that is good enough is Thomas Partey. Aubameyang's not really doing it. Lacazette, good player, decent player, but he's leaving at the end of the season. Granit Xhaka doesn't want to be here. Let's be honest. Let's really be honest right now. Granit Xhaka wants to be in Rome. Holding, not good enough. Mari, not good enough. Bernd Leno makes people shit themselves. Callum Chambers, not good enough. Nicolas Pepe, good player. Alright, decent. But you need more than that. You need key players, massive personalities that step up and support these youngsters. And we don't have that at the moment. So you can't just literally have an 11 of under 23s. There's a reason that there's adult football, and there's a reason that there's under 23 football. You mix the youngsters with the senior players. We don't have enough good senior players, and if you don't, you won't get top 4. It's an impossibility to be able to get top 4 without top senior players that can help guide the way for these youngsters. And if you can't get top 4, well, then these youngsters in the next 2-3 years time are going to come knock on your door and say, we want to go to a Champions League team. So is it sustainable? Is it a sustainable model? Is it a model that they've chosen to be able to be sustainable financially? Because financially it's stable. It's sustainable. Yeah, financially you're getting 15 million for Sambi Lokonga, which in the next 3 years it could be 50 million. Yeah, financially it's great. No problem financially. But we're talking as a competitive club, as fans, that we want them to be challenging at the top level. Are they aiming for that? Like I said, I don't think this season the aim is top 4. We were all talking last season, by the way, about how much we need to invest for top 4 and all of this kind of thing. The club hasn't shown that it wants to go for top 4 this season. The club might have shown that it wants to eventually battle for top 4, and it wants to eventually build a team that gets into top 4. But it's not this season. We need to forget kind of like we might end up making top 4, but in my opinion, the target is not top 4. I think it's get as close as you can to top 4, but top 6 will be perfectly fine as long as we're in Europe next season. Is that good enough? I don't know. I don't think it is, because like if you've got that much money to spend, which we spent 150 million, You could have mixed in the youngsters with the bit more kind of like established players. You don't need to buy every single player that has to be young. I mean, you already had William Saliba. You already had you have Aziz and you have Patino. Did you really need Lokonga as well? Could you not have added another 10 million to Lokonga's price and bought Bruno Gomes? You could have, but they want to spin this whole kind of like, oh, we're just investing in youth. The thing is, there's young players, and then there's established young players. Bruno Gomes has played in the Olympics. He's played for Lyon for 2 seasons. He's captain of the club that he came from in Brazil. Very, very, very experienced young player. Bissouma, 23, 24 years old, experienced young player. Has played for Lille, has played for Brighton, 2-3 seasons each. Obviously Locatelli, experienced, but he was never going to come. The point is, though, that there was experience with talent out, experience with youth and talent out there, but we went for the players that are experienced, that are young, didn't have the greatest experience, and this is the problem that you have right now. It's gonna be a problem because youngsters all have teething issues. They all have kind of like inconsistencies. Well, the thing about youngsters that's known, it's a known fact that youngsters are very inconsistent. You as the board, you might be accepting that the fact that there's going to be inconsistencies, but us as fans who have just dealt with 2 8th position finishes in a row, are we really going to put up with inconsistencies this season from players? Is that really an atmosphere that you want youngsters to be around at the moment? Is that good for their development? Do they have the senior players around them to guide them through these times of difficulty? These are all questions that I don't feel like the board has really answered yet. Yeah, I know the strategy was to invest in young, under 23s. I know that was the strategy. But last season we had under 23, we had Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, Saliba, Kieran Tierney, and then you look at the other players, Balogun, Aziz, Patino, all of these kind of players. These are all under 23s as well. Was it necessary for the strategy to be focused on under 23s or players that are under the age of 23? I don't know. I don't know if it's the right strategy, because you can focus on under 23s when you've got good established senior players. We don't have that. You can't just bring under 23s into a cauldron and just say to them, oh yeah, but it's fine because you're of a certain age. It won't be fine. It will be detrimental to their development, and it will be detrimental to the development of the club. Now, what I would say is, if we can keep a Thomas Partey fit, and we can get an Aubameyang firing, and we can get a Gabriel and White partnership for the full season, and you can get a consistent Granit Xhaka like the last 6 months of last season, then you stand a chance at least not top 4, but you stand a chance at least of being in that conversation of kind of like being in and around that there and thereabouts, 5th, 6th, that kind of thing. But at the moment, I can't see it based on the way that our senior players have performed over the last couple of seasons and the injuries that certain senior players such as Thomas Partey have received. Now, like I said, if he does stay fit, you never know what could happen. So for me, I don't know if the strategy is necessarily correct. I understand what they're trying to say, and it's very admirable that Edu came out and explained it in the way that he did. I thought he explained it quite well, but it doesn't mean that it was the right one. when you came out and you explained the strategy, he didn't explain the strategy of what they wanted in immediate short-term success. Oh, I don't know. I don't want to say top 4, top 6, top 8, top 10. But what is this? What is short-term success for you guys, so that we can actually hold you accountable to it? Is it top 4? Because the majority of fans are thinking that we should be fighting for top 4 this season. If that's not what you think, then say that's not what that we want to get back into Europe this season. That's the aim of the club. Because you can't give Arteta players that you want, that you believe will be battling for top 6 positions, while the fans are thinking, no, we should be getting top 4. Because from the outside looking in, Arteta spent 150 million, a lot of money, on top of the X amount of million that he spent last summer. He's got a squad that's for him. But does that necessarily mean that squad is good enough for top 4? I don't think it does, because the players that we got aren't necessarily ready to be able to buy. Are they? Look, so there's a difference between their potential and what they have right now. Their potential, I have no doubt that a lot of these players are going to be Champions League level players. When you talk about Saka and you talk about Smith Rowe and Tierney and Ben White and Gabriel and Lokonga and even Tomiyasu, I believe that they do, and Aaron Ramsdale, I believe that they do have the potential to be Champions League players. No doubt about that. But are they ready in this moment of their careers? Are they ready to be top 4 level players? And there's no disrespect to them, because every youngster needs support. I don't think that the team as a whole is ready for it yet. And I don't think that, like I said, I don't think the board is either, and they should have come out and just said it. A lot of explanation of the strategy, less explanation of what they want short-term success. So that's the only worrying thing for me. I don't necessarily think that the signings were bad. I just think that they weren't necessarily the right fit when we think about the current state of our senior players. Because when you think about players like Fabregas, or when you think about Jack Wilshere, Fabregas had Vieira, Thierry Henry, Bergkamp, Sol Campbell, Kolo Touré, Lauren, all of these world class players around him to be able to support him through. Jack Wilshere had Fabregas, had Samir Nasri, had Robin van Persie, had also world class players helping him through. Who does someone like Lokonga have? Partey. That's it. Really and truly, that is it. And is that good enough? We'll see. I don't wanna cause a proper downer, but we'll see, innit? Like it could be successful, and these senior players might end up pulling something out of the bag which I haven't seen before. Or it's gonna go exactly what we expected, and the senior players are going to be inconsistent, along with youngsters who are going to be inconsistent as well. Not because of lack of talent, but because of naturally the progression of a footballer. So let's see what happens with that. And that's why for me the transfer window is a 6 out of 10, because yeah, the signings you invested well, 150 million. You didn't make the right sales, and I don't think that we should have invested in only under 23 players. I think there needed to be a bit more experienced, a bit more established players in there that you can hang your hat on and say, yeah, I'm sure this person's going to be turning up week in, week out and give me a performance. Can you say that about the players that we've bought? I don't know. I don't want to shit on them as signings, but I don't know. So yeah, I think 6 out of 10, and I do think that the team is good enough. By the way, I do think that the team is good enough for top 6. Absolutely, and we should be getting Europe with the current squad that we have. And when you look at the players, they're good players, and they're very well suited to the way that Mikel Arteta wants to play. So he doesn't really have an excuse in terms of the way that he wants to play, and the players, how they fit into the system and all of that kind of thing. Now it's down to Arteta to be able to get us top 6, because we can't afford to have another season outside of Europe. We just absolutely cannot afford that. And when you think about it, the reason that the Europa League, if you get past Villarreal last season in the Europa League, you could potentially win it, because Man United were there for the taking in the final. So that's another avenue to be able to get into the Champions League. This season, we're hanging our hats. If we're talking about Champions League, we're hanging our hats on Premier League. We're hanging our hats on being able to perform in the Premier League week in, week out. And it's been 3 games already and we've got 0 points. You don't have the backup option of, actually, you know what, I'm going to go to the Europa League and I'm going to go all out in the Europa League as well. Especially with the Europa League, you can build momentum, you can play a different play, you can give players, fringe players, give them minutes so that when they do, if they are needed in the Premier League, they're ready to go, they're not cold, they're warmed up and eager to impress, they can hit the ground running. At the moment, you're kind of like, you're all your eggs are in one basket. I don't know, that's not conducive to the kind of like the way that we want to build the team, because best believe the football is a short career, and a lot of these players, especially in the day and age that we're in now, a lot of these players can easily be turned, and their heads can be turned to wanting to play for the giant clubs that are playing in the Champions League and stuff. So we're not at that stage, and at the moment you can bank on these players because they're happy to be here and they're developing and stuff like that. But eventually these players are going to want Champions League football, and we have to provide that. Europa League is another avenue to that, and we can't afford to be a club to remain a consistently attractive club to these players without Europe. It went from Champions League to Europa League, and you were still being able to attract the Aubameyangs and the Parteys of this world. But then you went from Europa League to no Europe. It's going to get a stage where it just becomes not sustainable, and you start buying real bums. So we absolutely need Europe this season. It's a must. There's no two ways about it. It's absolute must. Will we deliver that? I think we will, and I think, like I said, that squad is. Do I think we will? That's to be decided. I need to see how we play after the international break, but that squad is absolutely able to get top 6 and should be getting top 6. And if we don't get top 6, then it's a failure on the part of the management, it's a failure on the part of the board, it's a failure on the part of the coaching. So let's see what happens. Anyway, it's one of those ones where there are a few exciting players there. I'm looking forward to seeing them play. I can't wait to the Arsenal Norwich game. It just feels like an age since Arsenal played again, especially when we got absolutely smashed by City. So you just want that game, the next game, to come straight away so we can just move on from that loss. But it just feels like it's been an age since that game. But what is it today? Monday. I can't wait until Saturday to get it back rolling, to get the players back, and then we can actually genuinely determine where is this team at under Mikel Arteta. Where are we at in terms of our build-up, in terms of our attacking play, in terms of our defensive capabilities, in terms of getting results, in terms of potentially getting into Europe, potentially battling for top 4. You never know. So let's see where we're at with that. But yeah, man, let me know what you guys think of the transfer window, and who was your favourite signing. For me personally, it's Martin Odegaard. I love the guy. I think he's an absolute gem of a player. Especially the way he started this season. I was watching some of his games for Norway in the last week, and he just looks really, really, really good. So for me, it's Martin Odegaard. But let me know what you guys think, and where do you think that we're going to end this season? Because I know the majority are probably going to say 10th, probably going to say relegated, in fact. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of this the window where we're going to finish this season. And onwards and upwards, hopefully we smash Norwich and go on a massive run. That's absolutely needed, and no excuses, especially if we get our players back. But yeah, man, let's see what happens. Thanks for listening, guys, and like and subscribe to the channel. I will be doing a Norwich pre-match kind of like show that will be out by Thursday. So watch out for that, and yeah, man, stay blessed and stay safe. Peace.